Hello once again, everyone. It's time for another Donny Lind Show presented by Educational Systems Federal Credit Union. My name is Adam Pohl. Well, this is an exciting one as we look back at a sweep of the Buffalo trip. Mount St. Mary's victorious, defeating both Canisius and Niagara over the weekend to jump into the middle of the MAC standings, now sixth place overall. For Mount St. Mary's, we will now look ahead as the Mount is getting ready to take on Quinnipiac on Thursday night at 7, and then Ryder on the annual winter homecoming game Saturday at 5, a part of a doubleheader. The women will play Merrimack at 2 here at Knott Arena. All of that, we'll talk about it with the head coach of Mount basketball, Donny Lind, right after this, as the Donny Lind Show starts now. Welcome back to the Donny Lind Show. This is Adam Pohl here with Coach Lind, presented by Educational Systems Federal Credit Union. Mount St. Mary's, it's a quick turnaround here at home, but before we look forward, let's look back at a big weekend. 2 big road wins, Coach, both double-digit wins, and both kind of filled a similar format where you played very well in the second half at Canisius and Niagara. How big was this weekend for your program?
Yeah, it was huge. You had really been starting to build, and although we hadn't gotten all the results that we wanted, felt like we were trending in the right direction, starting to get some stability in our lineups and guys starting to fill into some roles and have a better understanding of kind of what's asked of them. And I thought, that really showed on both ends of the floor, but especially with our defense. I thought our defense played really well over the weekend.
We've seen it a lot in wins, but really altogether, a lot of times in this new era of basketball where you see a lot of three-point shots, a lot of shots at the rim, it's hard to keep opponents to a low 2-point shooting percentage, but you guys have done a very good job of that of late.
Yeah, I've always believed, my little bit of analytics background, but 2-point field goal percentage is the number one indicator of offensive success. And so we're trying to have a high 2-point field goal percentage because that means you get a lot of layups. And we're trying to force teams in a low 2-point field goal percentage, which means they're not taking layups. Right. And if they are, they're heavily challenged. But we're forcing them into tougher twos. And, with the type of rim protection we have this year, we have an opportunity to really make it difficult for people to score around the basket. And I thought, that's been building again. Guys are starting to understand, how much we want to challenge those shots. We've got more length both at the rim and on the perimeter. And so when you get there, there's just a little bit tougher shot to make. And we feel like if we can keep people away from making layups, getting layups and making layups, we're going to have a good chance at getting stops.
In the win on MLK Day against Niagara, you go into the half, you're down a few points, but coming out early in that second half, it felt like Luke McElden played that role. He forced bigs from Niagara into really tough shots in which they struggled to score. And then he was the one that scored the first few buckets in the second half to really get your offense going. And it seemed to never let down after that.
Yeah, we really made a concerted effort to get him the ball. We felt like that was an advantage that we had coming out of halftime and wanted to make sure he got some touches around the basket. And certainly he's good at taking advantage of those touches. I think he's leading the league in field goal percentage so far in MAC play. And when he gets the ball down there, he's got a good chance of putting it in. So we wanted to certainly make sure we got it there. And then, he's been very good defensively all year long. He's has a good understanding of, what he's good at. Where he can be more aggressive, where he can pull back. And the one thing that I've been really impressed with in his growth so far throughout the year is his willingness to challenge shots around the rim. Some bigger guys, they're afraid to foul or they're worried about, what it is. So he's learned how he can go vertical and where he can challenge shots at the rim and make it more difficult. It was in the Canisius game, but he had a big block at the rim that started a break for us. I think we had a 3. And, those guys, him and Yak, their ability to protect the basket and then allow us to get out in transition. And that's big for us. And they're doing a really good job at protecting the rim.
Not that both games were the same game, but again, they followed a similar script, and the ability to wear down the opponent, to play that aggressive defense, force some turnovers that led to some big baskets at times, even in moments of the games, where your offense may have been struggling a bit. That's going to be huge for you guys as you continue to move forward. And it really showed because in both games, you trailed for the majority of the first half and then really, really came out strong in the second.
Yeah, one of the things I learned really early on in my career working at VCU for Coach Smart when we were, havoc and pressing all over the floor is he would always talk about the cumulative effect of pressure defense.
Yes.
And, it's not that the first 5 minutes of the game you're going to get a couple steals and easy baskets. It's that over the course of 40 minutes, you can really wear the opponent down. And the opponent's guards are asked to do something every play that they don't enjoy doing.
Mm-hmm.
And so over the course of the game, it can really wear them down and force them into some turnovers, eventually, or force them into some shots that maybe they don't have their legs for, or force them into a pass that it's like, I just got to get rid of the ball.
Yeah.
And they throw it to nobody in particular. And, you hope you can have somebody in that place. But, it's a cumulative effect of the press. And, you've seen in both of these games, it's not like we just started, being aggressive in the second half. It's just that, you get into the second half and you wear down the legs of the opponent and you wear down the mind of the opponent. And then you have a chance to go on a run.
How about Orlandis Key's week? Because he had a tough game against Siena. It was one of those days where the ball wasn't going in the basket, as we talked about in our show last week. But big game at Canisius. And then to follow that up, he was scoreless in the first half against Niagara, scored 15 points in the second half. And that was huge for you guys to get that scoring touch.
Yeah, Landis is a good scorer, a really good shooter, good scorer. And, he kept his confidence, throughout. I thought, Coach Cedi did a good job with him at halftime. I saw it in my corner of my eye, them having a good little chat. So he obviously was able to push the right buttons with him and help him, maintain that confidence throughout. He knows how to score. He knows how to shoot. He's got a short-term memory, which is what you want in a shooter and a scorer, where, if they miss one, it seems like an anomaly to them, and they assume that the next one has to go in.
Yes.
And so he did a great job with that. He maintained that aggressiveness even, during that stretch in the first half when the ball wasn't going in, and, he picked up a cheap foul that, he probably didn't agree with, and, was still able to maintain his composure and do the things we needed him to do. And then obviously he got rewarded in the second half because he maintained that confidence.
All right, we're going to take a quick break. When we return here on the Donny Lind Show, we're going to take a look forward. It's a big week at home. Mount St. Mary's gets ready to host Quinnipiac, and then it's homecoming against Ryder on Saturday. More of the Donny Lind Show right after this.
The time has come. The steak and cheese sandwich is back at Roy Rogers. Savory or spicy, make it yours with your favorite fixins. Go big and upgrade to a large drink and holster fry for the full cowboy experience. Get it while you can. Steak and cheese is here for a limited time only. See you soon at Roy Rogers.
Great to have you with us on the Donny Lind Show, presented by Educational Systems Federal Credit Union. Coach Lind, this is we had a little bit that first week back when you had the Iona game on a Monday and then played 3 games in a week. But by playing Saturday and then Monday, and now you kind of get back into the regular role, this is going to be 4 games in 8 days. Do I have that right?
Yeah, it's going to be a lot. Our guys love it. They'd rather play games than practice anyway. For us coaches, it's a little unnerving at times, but the players love the games, and this is a fun time of the year. The joys of conference play. Sometimes you get some of these odd weeks where you got to play and shoot. That's what we're here for. We obviously have 2 good opponents coming in here this week, and we get to play both these games at home where we sleep in our own beds, and hopefully can have the recovery that we need between games to be able to perform at our best.
You had a long bus drive home last night as we record this here a few days before your game against Quinnipiac on Thursday. With that being said, that's going to be tricky to try to find that right balance to both be ready physically, but also be ready mentally to attack a game with a quick turnaround.
Yeah, no doubt. It is fortunate that it's a team we've already played, this year in Quinnipiac. So, it wasn't that long ago that we played up there. So I'm sure it'll be a quick refresher and when we get in film with the guys and reminding them what they did and how they play and what we need to do to be successful against them. We'll have a combination of physical and mental preparation. Certainly recovery is important, right? Our guys being in the right physical state to be able to perform their best. And then they gotta, there'll be some things that we gotta do hard on the court, and they'll be ready for that. We've got a great group that loves to practice. They like to get on the floor. They like to compete in practice. So those days that are like super walkthrough-y because we're trying to save their legs, sometimes as coaches we think, oh, that's what they need. But the players, they want to play. So
Right.
they like those competitive practices. So we'll have a combination of both over the 2 days to prepare for Quinnipiac.
And then Saturday is going to be a 5 o'clock start. It's going to be a doubleheader. The women will play at 2. 1 ticket is good for both games. So that's going to be a great event, the annual winter homecoming. We might be getting some winter the next day. I don't know if you've seen that, Coach. But winter homecoming here at Knott Arena. And we always look forward to that. It'll be Ryder coming to town for that one.
Yeah, homecoming's a special time here. It's one of those things that, again, you don't necessarily always appreciate until you kind of look back on it, and to be at a place that has homecoming around basketball, right? That's
Right.
It's different than most universities, but it speaks to the basketball being in the framework and the DNA of the university. And it'll be great to have so many of our alums and friends and family come back for homecoming. Should be a great time with the women's game and our game in a doubleheader. I know we didn't get to do that last year. It'll be nice to
Right.
get to do that again. And then another hungry, good physical team coming in here. Hopefully we can be ready to play.
And this will be the first week. It's been a long time since you've had students at games. It's going to be nice. 5 of your 7 home games this year have not had students. The rest of your home games, the student body will be here on campus. That brings a lot of energy here to Knott Arena.
Yeah, absolutely. Students, we need you. We need you guys out in full force and full voice Thursday first, and then obviously on Saturday as well. But it's a great opportunity, to showcase the sort of environment that we have here. I think I checked earlier this week. I think we're second in the conference in conference games and in home attendance, and that's without the students. So excited to get them here and get to see Knott Arena bumping, and our guys love it. We love it, and it'll be a great advantage for us this weekend.
And I think both games are going to also be on local television, which is neat, on the Monumental Sports Network. If you can't make it out, you can check out Mount Basketball both Thursday night and then on Saturday as well. Any other thoughts, Coach, as we get ready for a big week of basketball? It's a quick turnaround.
Yeah, no, we're super excited. Obviously going up to Buffalo and getting a couple wins. We hope to build some momentum. Again, we're a one day at a time group, and I thought we've done a great job at keeping the right mentality. And now we lean into this next stretch where we try to just keep improving, and hopefully that can continue to give us some good results.
All right, thanks so much, Coach. Best of luck here this week.
Thanks, Adam.
Thanks for watching our Donny Lind Show, presented by Educational Systems Federal Credit Union. My name is Adam Pohl. A reminder, Thursday night, again, it's Quinnipiac, a 7 o'clock tip. It's Emmett's birthday. Watch out. We're going to celebrate the big fella.
Ice cream cake? Can we get an ice cream cake for Emmett's birthday? I'm a big ice cream cake fan.
That would be phenomenal. I know the dance team's coming up with something special for that. And then on Saturday, once again, winter homecoming tickets are limited. So make sure to get your tickets now to make sure you've got a seat in the arena for winter homecoming. The reserve blue seats are basically sold out at this point. So we hope you can get out for winter homecoming, one of the special days of Mount Basketball this year. As for the men, it'll be Ryder. That will be the opponent, a 5 o'clock tip. Thanks so much for being with us.